The NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell do their best to keep the public image of the league in good standing. However, there are some actions that players or teams have made over the years that have left the league embarrassed, whether it be teams abandoning their city or the multiple scandals that have gone on. Today, we will go over some of the most embarrassing moments in the history of the NFL. What if I told you that the recipient of the Man of the Year award would go on to fool everyone? 1. Eugene Robinson winning the Man of the Year award. Eugene Robinson had a very successful 16-year career in the NFL. During his time in the league, he played for the Seattle Seahawks, Green Bay Packers, Atlanta Falcons, and Carolina Panthers. He was a three-time Pro Bowler and a one-time Super Bowl champion. While he would not win the Super Bowl in the season that this moment took place, it would occur during his time with the Falcons on the weekend of the biggest game of the year. Robinson was awarded as that season's Bart Starr Award, given to players who show exemplary character and leadership. Around this time, Robinson had a squeaky clean reputation as a result of his charity work. However, he would go on to embarrass himself and the league as a whole just one night after receiving the award. Robinson was caught trying to solicit favors from an undercover police officer. He would go on to have a very shaky performance in the Super Bowl the next day, and would eventually return the Bart Starr Award. This was a clear misjudgment of character and an all-time embarrassing moment for the NFL. Up next is when an entire city woke up and its NFL team was nowhere to be found. 2. The Baltimore Colts fleeing the city. Robert Irsay, father of the current owner of the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Irsay, made himself public enemy number one in the city of Baltimore with this move. Irsay's initial intention was to keep the team in Baltimore. However, after the city was unable to guarantee him a new stadium and threatened to take the team from him in a legal battle, Irsay did what any rational owner would do. He packed the entire team out and they fled the city for their new home in Indianapolis during the wee hours of the night. When the city of Baltimore awoke the next day, Irsay and the Colts were nowhere to be found. This exit scheme was so well thought out that each moving truck took a different route to Indy so local police in Baltimore could not track the team as they made their escape. Irsay would even go on the record saying, "It's not your ball team, it's my family's ball team. I paid for it, and I worked for it." What if I told you this would not be the only time that a team packed up and fled their old city for a new one overnight? 3. The Cleveland Browns leaving for Baltimore. The Cleveland Browns would take a play out of Irsay and the Colts playbook and flee the city of Cleveland for Baltimore overnight. This was a very interesting move as Browns owner at the time Art Model would go on the record to criticize Irsay's handling of moving his team to Indianapolis just years before he would do the exact same thing. Cleveland would get their team back in 1999. However, since making their return to the city, the Browns have been a dumpster fire of a franchise and have fared much worse than their counterparts in Baltimore. While the Ravens have won 2 Super Bowls since moving from Cleveland, the Browns have not come close to even sniffing a title since they were reestablished as a franchise in 1999. Model attempted to justify the move in an interview saying, "I have a great legacy, tarnished somewhat by the move. The politicians and the bureaucrats saw fit to cover their own rear ends by blaming it on me. They built a new ballpark, a new arena, a science museum, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I couldn't get running water in the upper deck." What if I told you one team was caught paying their players to intentionally hurt their opponents? 4. Bountygate. The New Orleans Saints were involved in one of the most disgraceful scandals in the history of the NFL. While they did not do anything criminal, this kind of behavior is extremely frowned upon in the NFL, and it makes it even worse that the whole organization was involved in it. Allegedly, the operation ran from 2009 to 2011, beginning in the season that the Saints won the Super Bowl over the Indianapolis Colts. Saints coaches would give players bonuses for injuring opposing players. However, rather than just aiming to injure any player that they could, coaches would put bounties on the heads of some of the top players on the opposing team. Many believe that this scheme would even go on to result in the end of one Hall of Fame quarterback's career. In a game against the Minnesota Vikings, Saints defenders were absolutely relentless on their hits on Favre. A referee officiating the game went on the record to say that there were at least 13 plays in which he believed the Saints players were intentionally trying to injure Favre. The league would investigate the situation and found that players would receive $1,000 if they caused an opposing player to be carted off of the field and $1,500 if the opponent was unable to return to the game. Some players who Saints coaches put bounties on included Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, Matt Hasselbeck, Marshawn Lynch, Mike Williams, and Jay Cutler. Cutler would end up being injured in the Chicago Bears game against the Saints. After the game, he could barely speak after a Saints defender kicked him in the throat. New Orleans defensive coordinator at the time, Greg Williams, was initially suspended indefinitely as a result of his involvement in Bountygate. Along with this, the Saints would be fined $500,000 and surrender a second-round pick. However, for all of the misdeeds that the Saints committed, this is a relatively light sentence, especially when considering how many were involved. Up next is one of the many scandals that the New England Patriots found themselves involved in during the Tom Brady era. 5. Deflategate. The New England Patriots went on arguably the most impressive dynasty run during their time with Tom Brady on the roster. However, their success would not come without controversy. One of these cheating allegations would even land Brady in court. Deflategate was one of the biggest controversies in recent NFL history. It led to Brady being suspended for 4 games due to his lack of cooperation in the investigation. Along with this, the Patriots would face a $1 million fine. This came as a result of the team allegedly deflating footballs in a playoff game against the Indianapolis Colts. It was thought that this was done so the balls would be easier to catch. The Patriots would end up winning the game by a final score of 45-7, and it was clear that even if the footballs were inflated properly, New England still would have won the game. Even to this day, many speculate that the Patriots did not actually deflate any footballs. However, the NFL's findings showed that a misdeed had occurred and the team would have to float quite a lot of money as a result. Despite this, they would go on to prove that they did not need deflated footballs to win in the postseason and would continue to see success as a team after Brady returned from his suspension. What if I told you this would not be the only major scandal that the Patriots would find themselves in during their time with Tom Brady on the roster? 6. Spygate. In 2007, the Patriots were one of the most unstoppable teams in the league. They would finish the regular season with an undefeated 16-0 record and would come just 1 game short of pulling off the second perfect season in NFL history. This came mostly as a result of Tom Brady and the elite weapons on New England's roster at this time. However, they had a little bit of extra help that got them in some hot water with the league. It was found that the Patriots would record the opposing team's practices. This would allow them to know exactly what plays would be run and gave them a clear advantage. As a result of this, the Patriots would have a first-round pick taken away, and things got so serious that the league would even involve a U.S. senator to help run the investigation. Just like with Deflategate, the Patriots would go on to prove that they did not need to cheat to win. However, they were by no means above bending the rules to help their chances to win.